Good morning.
know.
I think we're all having fun, having fellowship here together. That's good. Now we're going to get down to business. And we're just happy to call this meeting to order of June the 10th, 2015. And I'm going to ask Reverend Johnny Robinson, please, to come forward and lead us in our invocation. And also that Commissioner Lee, if you will lead us in our pledge. So will you rise and remain standing?
I want to take this great honor and privilege to stand before the greatest county leaders in all of Russell County. And I also want to thank God. I have two of my students here. Raise your hand. They're from the University of New England up there in Maine, and they are my interns for the summer. And I want them to come and meet the greatest people in all of our county and our county leaders.
And we welcome them.
Amen. So we thank you all for this opportunity this morning. And let us go before the throne of grace that God has been so good to us, and his mercy will continue to endeavor us to accomplish our goals. Father, we come to you this morning thanking you for this great opportunity that you've given us today, Lord God, to serve our nation through our county, Lord God, through our government, Lord God, through the departments, Lord God, the divisions and so forth, Lord God, that the people, Lord God, of Russell County and throughout the world, Lord God, will be able to see brighter days. Lord God, accomplish greater goals. We ask you today, Father, to touch this commission. Oh, Heavenly Father, keep them vigilant. Lord God, keep them hungry for growth. Lord God, keep them, Lord God, with the integrity to understand that it's not just about them, Lord God, but it's about the entire universe. Father, we thank you for that today. And now we ask you to crown them with the grace and your glory and give them the hope of glory that abides, Lord God, within you. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag, salute, and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. And we do not have any public comments. No one signed in. So I wanted to give thanks to the East Alabama, the Citizen News, and the cable company. They are faithful to have our community service as foremost in their mind. Also, we have elected officials, of course, here, and if we have any in the audience, we welcome you. We welcome the visitors, the media, and anyone that's here today on behalf of this elder justice and advocacy. We welcome you. And Ms. Bellamy will be on the program here. Madam Chair, I promoted you.
Thank you.
You will call the roll.
I'll be glad to. District 1 Lee.
Present.
District 2 Pugh. Present. District 3 Martin.
Here.
District 4 Reed.
Here.
District 5 Epps. Here. District 6 Corbett.
Here.
District 7 Scrooge. Here. We've established a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And in your packet is the minutes of May 27th, and I trust you've read them. If we could have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And I think we had two motions to approve. Is there a second? I guess that's...
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. We hold the commission.
District 1 Lee.
Yes.
District 2 Pugh.
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 Epps. Yes. District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Scrooge.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Florence Bellamy, if you would approach the commission and present us concerning the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
I want to thank the county commission on behalf of Russell County DHR for allowing us this opportunity to come. Other persons will be coming, and they will introduce themselves, except for the two staff members, Ms. Yolanda Beasley and Ms. Kim Price. And we'd also like for our other community partners to come up. The probate judge is here, Judge Harden, and our sheriff, Sheriff Taylor, would you please? Many people don't realize that what these persons do for Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and I'm also getting the word out. Judge Harden is a strong community partner, but also an elected official, and he does some things that many people training. And he's good about, you know, getting the word out about what is elder abuse. He's good about doing that without even asking. And the sheriff, bless his heart, when we had the former sheriff, because of our relationship and working together in the DA's office, he became our, not official, county guardian, but not officially. But he serves in that capacity, and when Sheriff Taylor was elected, he came right on in and assumed that role, and right now, he's the guardian and conservator of probably approximately 30 clients at this time. And we appreciate that. So now I yield to our director, Ms. Terry Jones, and Mr. Rick Jancy, and to the chairperson. We'll let Ms. Martin read the, yes, we have a proclamation.
World Elder Abuse Awareness Day Proclamation. Whereas Russell County seniors and disabled adults are valued members of society, and it is our collective responsibility to ensure that they live safely and with dignity. And whereas abuse of older and disabled people is a tragedy inflicted on vulnerable adults and an ever-increasing problem in today's society that crosses all socioeconomic boundaries. Whereas combating abuse of older and disabled people will help improve the quality of life for all seniors and disabled adults in this county, will allow seniors and disabled adults to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of Russell County. Whereas Russell County seniors and disabled adults are guaranteed that they will be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to be valued members of this community. Whereas we are all responsible for building safer communities for our older and disabled citizens, and whereas the well-being of Russell County seniors and disabled adults is in the interest of all and further adds to the well-being of Russell County. Therefore, the Russell County Commission hereby proclaims Elder Abuse Awareness Day on June 15, 2015, and encourages all of our citizens to recognize and celebrate the value of Russell County seniors and disabled adults and their right to live safely in their community. Signed by the Commission.
And it's my pleasure as chair of Russell County Commission to present this proclamation to you all. And thank you for the great work you do in our community. And I'm one of the elders.
Sometimes Ms. Martin, you know, the commissioners may abuse you too.
Y'all hear that now? We have two more persons here. You know, I'm part of that group too, so I have a senior moment. Our chairperson of the board, Ms. Dee Braun, is here, and we were expecting two other board members, and they may still come in. And Ms. Jones is going to recognize. We have a new community partner who showed up this morning. And we're all getting older. So let's just be good neighbors to one another and be responsible for one another. That's what it takes, is the volunteers in our community that are faithful to work with DHR. And I thank you all for being here this morning, and it's my pleasure to present this proclamation. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martin. The Russell County Commissioners and Commission, on behalf of the Russell County Department of Human Resources, the Adult Protective Service staff, we certainly appreciate your partnership, the proclamation, for what you have done today. We do want you to know that elderly abuse is gravely underreported. And if you know of anyone, our elderly citizens, please call our office, report it. Because, you know, as family members, we are held responsible for taking care of our elderly population. But of course, sometimes that just does not happen. So we do, the citizens of Russell County, we do have to step in and help our elderly population. I also want to thank the Columbus Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. They donated several fans to us today for our elderly citizens. It's very hot, and some of our citizens, they do not believe in air conditioners, and they like to stay in their homes, and it's very hot in there. So the fans would definitely help keep them cool, and help to keep them to be able bodies as well. Yes. And I do appreciate Ms. Braun, who's our chairperson of our county board, for coming this morning as well. And Mr. Chancey, our attorney for our We don't, just come on, no, he's just gonna come and join. Oh, sure. Mr. Chancey, you finished with that?
Madam Chairperson, thanks for this day, for recognizing this group of people. I am the least of the group that you see sitting up here. Why I got chosen to speak is beyond me. But these people do a lot of work behind the scenes that you don't see. Kim and Yolanda, Mildred, Florence, they work tirelessly for this community. And when Pastor said his prayer, he mentioned this community. And we're really a family. And like Cherry said, elder abuse is underreported, and we depend on the family of Russell County, the community, to report this, because that's how we find out what is going on. If you have a question about if an adult or a senior is being abused or neglected or needs help, call the Department of Human Resources, or if you see one of the local deputies, report it to them. They get the information back to us. That's how we find out that things are going on in the community. And this is a special day for this group because they work hard all year round. In fact, the American Legion Post is sponsoring a brunch for us, for the group, and our clients, Monday morning at 9 a.m. They were nice enough to sponsor that for us. Commander Leroy Davis is putting that on for us, and we appreciate all of the recognition that's coming and is deserved by this group of hard workers. Just to let the commissioners know, our work is made easier by the people of this community, your probate judge, your sheriff, the local judges, in the circuit and district courts. They are very helpful to this group, and they bend over backwards to help us in every way we can, and we depend on them a great deal, and their efforts are certainly appreciated, as well as this commission. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you. I also just want to remind everyone that Monday, June 15th is Elder Abuse Awareness Day. So if you can, please wear your purple, and thank you for those of you who have on purple today. Please wear your purple again on Monday, June 15th. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Miss Florence.
See, I got it on.
Yeah.
Hey.
Step up, thank you.
You recorded yourself.
Thank you for what you do.
Gentry, Ms. Martin going to write up her report on you. You just reported yourself that you abused her.
I said commissioners, I didn't say me. And I'll probably be guilty of it too.
We have no discussion items. We'll move on to business, and we'll begin with Commissioner Corbett about the update on Crawford Park.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On Monday night, I brought an update to the commission on the status of the Crawford Park, which includes the old Masonic Lodge in Crawford. One, we did the ribbon cutting. It was a very big success. We had over 200 people there, including the committee and several key members of the community that were involved in that. There has been discussion in the past and a lot of rumbling about how that facility would be ran and how who would be overseeing that. I'm proposing today that we let the committee that came together be the beginning force of that, and actually allow them to get together and write some bylaws and come together with a rental agreement, which I've already placed in draft form and given it to you in your packets. We took some consideration and some suggestions from the attorney and made some amendments to that, and he is now blessed it and saying, and it is much like the one in Fort Mitchell. But today, for the purposes of time, I'd like to make a motion that the current Crawford Park Committee is hereby recognized as an official committee of the Russell County Commission, and the same is charged with creating a set of bylaws which will include how the members of the committee are chosen and how the committee operates. Also, the Crawford Park Committee is hereby charged with running the daily operation and making operating decisions for the Crawford Park and all buildings located at the property located at 4497 U.S. Highway 80 West, Phoenix City, Alabama, and that any person wishing to rent the buildings located at Crawford Park do so through the Russell County Commission Office and the County Administrator be allowed to open a new checking account to manage associated funds. And that's in form of a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Now, there's any questions?
Madam
or
Chairman, we
discussion?
open for discussion. Yeah, Madam Chairman, I just want to ask a question concerning this committee, stuff like this. If I don't know nothing about these people. I think it's going to be 15 people. I'd like to see a background check. I don't even know nothing about it. A resume or something about these folks. I don't even know who's going to be on the board.
Madam Chair,
And we just
did
vote
we
on
do that for
somebody.
our other committee members? for any board that we have, do we do background checks on them? If we do, I'm glad to do that, but.
Not that I recollect.
I am familiar with most of them. Some of them I met in this process that came up and said, hey, I want to be involved. So I'm pretty familiar with most of them and can vouch for, of the current 9 that are on there, I could vouch for probably 7 of them right now.
Okay,
But
could you
so I
name
don't have
them?
a problem, but yeah, absolutely can. Miss Joanne Laney, who is involved in many different boards and committees. Miss Dee Cantrell, who is your niece, I believe, Miss Martin, you may know her. Jeannie Jenkins, who is a resident of Dixie. Jerry Charles, who is a resident of Crawford, also a Mason. Miss Rosie Gary, that she is one of the ones that I met through this process, but seems to be a very nice lady. I know her relatives. Miss Deanie Piercy, who I've known a little while. She used to own a business in Ladonia. Miss Gloria Ellis, again, longtime outstanding citizen of Crawford, also some relation, I think. Mr. Buster Sanders, who we all know, 53-year county employee. I think we can do a background check on him. And Miss Debbie Boswell, who is Tommy Boswell, our retired sheriff's wife. So I think she's pretty good, too, on that one. So those are the members that are currently there. We did push it to a 15-member just so that we have the ability to bring some more folks in. The things I encourage to happen here is that we don't just appoint people for the sake of appointing them. We bring people in that are willing to make the place better. These people have been out there on their Saturdays, on their evenings. They've been out here volunteering. They, like I, have put a lot of their own money into this project trying to make it better. So I think we owe it to them and the community to recognize them as the initial committee and let them bring other people on board. And, you know, if any of these commissioners here or you have anybody in mind that wants to get involved and wants to help, by all means, please send them out there and let them do it. But, you know, we don't want someone that's just going to be, hey, I want this on my resume. I was on a committee or something. We want people that are actually going to get involved and work.
Are you still offering pavers that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, what we've done on that project, it was a very resounding, good project. We've spent all of that money, almost every dime of it, into the building. We still have just a little bit of it left that we're working for maintenance. But we have an order of about 9 of them right now that we're, you know, waiting on to be created. So we still have a lot of blanks in there that can be turned into names if someone wants one.
Okay. And they could contact you?
Absolutely. Or the commission office, they're familiar with what to do. Beth was the one actually taking in all the money and receipting all of that out to the people.
Good. Okay, are we ready for the vote?
Yes, ma'am.
District 1, Lee.
Yes.
District 2, Pugh.
Yes.
District 3, Martin.
Yes.
District 4, Reed.
Yes.
District 5, Epps.
Yes.
District 6, Corbett.
Yes.
District 7, Scribble.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next is the final settlement, Revenue Commissioner Naomi Elliott.
We skipped the
You
grant.
skip one.
Oh, is she here?
Yes.
Why did I see you? Sorry, Barbara. We missed you on Monday evening. That's the LWCF grant application.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. If you recall, back in late summer of 2014, we submitted a pre-application for a walking trail out at the sports complex in Seal. And just received notification last week that the application had been chosen to put in the full application. You've been invited to move on to the second level. However, the invitation to apply for the second level includes 16 recommendations of improvements that need to be made at the park. And the reason for that is as you accept federal funding from recreation programs, there are a lot of criteria that you have to meet. A lot of them have to do with making things accessible. There can be no overhead utility lines. You have to really abide by that in perpetuity. So I think it's actually a good thing that when they invite you for the second level, that they do show you what you would have to do in order to comply with those recommendations. So we're here today to see how the Commission feels about moving forward with the second level application. Some of the fixes are simple. Some of them are not. And as there was a lot of discussion before the pre-application about whether or not the commission wishes to accept the federal funding, since the park will have to be operated and maintained in perpetuity, that means forever, in accordance with the requirements of recreation programs. So we're just here today to see how the commission feels about this. Did receive a call from the folks at Recreation Programs at ADECA asking if I knew what the wishes were, since they had like a 2-day turnaround and wanted a letter back by Friday. And I said, well, they have to go before commission because there's a lot in this letter. So they understand. I believe a letter may have been sent saying pending what the commission says, just to keep options open. But they understood that this was coming before commission this week.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Because of the landlocked issue in perpetuity, because of the stipulations, because I think it can be done in-house for much less, and at this time I do not think it is feasible, and said so when we initially tried to apply, I would like to make a motion that the chair sign a letter of appreciation for consideration and notify the agency that the commission has made the decision to not pursue the LWCF grant for the walking trail in Russell County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and request of the
Madam
chair.
Chairman, we open for discussion. Madam Chairman, I really think we should put this off because we need to have a recreation director intact first and get his opinion concerning this grant. You asked me.
Can't put it off.
Madam Chair, I've done my homework on this. In fact, I talked to the department head the last time that actually applied for it, shortly after he did, a couple of days, and said, I do not believe that we're even in the running because of the power lines, just the one issue. And he said, I totally agree. I said, well, why did we do this? He said, so we can show that we're working. Well, that's not the reason to apply for this grant, in my opinion. I think we've kind of wasted Ms. Scott's time and our time as well. At this time, I believe we could pour the exact, or create the exact same walking trail out of asphalt for $20,000. And that's what the numbers say, and checking with an engineer. So have your walking trail. I agree, let's make the place better. But why tie up county funds and county land in perpetuity in something? If we decided 10 years from now we wanted to put a concession stand there or outbuilding or whatever, we could not do that. And if we did that, we would have to pay funds back. So why do that when we could do this exact same project for a fraction of the cost in-house? So that's the reason I make the motion today.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
after reading all the restrictions that they have within this application, I think it was an honor that they recognized us as we applied for the grant. But my concern is that there are too many restrictions that we can, we will be losing, I would say, revenue that the county could get. And for that reason, I agree with Commissioner Colbert that we should deny this application and send a letter of appreciation. That's all.
Thank you.
And Barbara, does this type, can we apply for it down the road again if we remove some of these?
Well, the opportunity is there every year to apply for recreation programs should the commission decide that they do want to move forward. But again, keep in mind, it is an in perpetuity operation and maintenance aspect of it.
And it falls on this commission body,
Yes.
whoever's here to serve Russell County, that they're responsible, they're liable.
Yes. And I do think it is a tribute to the work that has been done out at that park without any grant funding. I think that despite the overhead power lines and some of the issues with accessibility, I think that the reason that you were invited to apply for the second level is because it's evident how much work has been put in there and how much support the commission and the community has for that park. But I can't disagree with your thoughts.
Right, and I understood you say someone had asked for a swimming pool?
No,
A what?
I didn't hear that.
Did I say that?
Well,
Swimming pool is
okay,
not a part of these restrictions.
then let's call for the vote.
Yes, ma'am. District 1, Lee?
Yes.
District 2, Pugh?
Yes.
District 3, Martin?
Yes.
District 4, Reed?
Yes.
District 5, Epps?
Yes.
District 6, Corbett?
Yes.
District 7, Scrooge?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Barbara, for coming down. And now our Commissioner, Revenue Commissioner.
Well, as I do each year, I'm here to just request that you allow the chairperson to sign off on my insolvent error and litigation report that has to go to the state of Alabama. And you have a copy of it there in your packet.
So move, Madam Chair.
Second, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We told the Commissioner.
District 1 Lee,
Yes.
District 2 Pugh,
Yes.
District 3 Martin,
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 F.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Scrivner.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you, and I'll stop by.
Started to vote no just to mess with you. I started to say no just to mess with you.
That's the easiest report you ever had approved.
Okay, Judge, do you want to speak to this Phillips matter? Just remove it.
Is that proper?
No, we gotta make a motion.
We got to vote.
We need to make a motion and
That's his
remove it
request.
from the agenda,
Motion
Madam
to
Chairman.
accept the request, please.
Second,
We
Madam
have a
Chairman.
motion and a second. Will you poll the commission?
District 1 Lee,
Yes.
District 2 Pugh.
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 F.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Scrivner.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Next is East Alabama Mental Health Board appointments. Any action on that, do you know?
Commissioner Pugh,
I'm sorry.
were you able to, you said you were going to speak to one of
Yeah,
them.
I've spoken to Mr. Sumbry, and he says that he would be more than delighted to serve on the board at the pleasure of this commission. So I would ask that the commission consider reappointing Mr. Sumbry to the board.
Mr. Isaiah Summer?
Correct.
Right.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I did not get a chance to speak to Cedric Doherty. I would like to bring this back at the next meeting for consideration.
Okay.
There's two of
You got a
There's
nomination?
two, yeah, we can approve it.
If I understood it, there's two appointments, so he's just asking that this appointment.
Right, that's right.
I'm asking that we take action on Mr. Sumbry this morning.
Yes, okay,
I'll second the reappointment of Mr. Sumbry.
okay. Will you poll the commission?
District 1 Lee.
Yes.
District 2 Pugh.
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 F.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Scrivner.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, and then, we have approval to purchase a pickup truck from the Engineers Department, and, Sean Blakeney is representing Larry
Good morning,
County.
Madam Chair,
Good
Commissioners. Just requesting to purchase a 2015 F-250 crew cab pickup off a state bid in the amount of $26,983. This pickup was actually, or another pickup was actually approved last meeting, but that bid had ended on the state bid, so we're having to rebid it out this one's the Stivers Ford Lincoln out of Montgomery.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Second.
And a second. And you did say that's in your budget
It's in our
already,
budget,
right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any discussion? No. Will you poll the commission?
District 1 Lee.
Yes.
District 2 Pugh.
Yes.
District 3 Martin.
Yes.
District 4 Reed.
Yes.
District 5 F.
Yes.
District 6 Corbett.
Yes.
District 7 Scrivner.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
And we'll hear from Sheriff Taylor concerning COPS grant.
Good morning, Madam Chairman,
Good morning.
Commissioners. They have recently opened up the COPS grant again. This grant has been closed for several years, and we would like your permission to move forward with the application. It is a 25% match for 3 years, and we have to agree to employ the two people, anybody that we may get, up to 2 people for 1 year after that. So we're going to apply for at least, the maximum is 2 deputies. That's based on the number of the size of our department. So we may get none, we may get 1, we may get 2. But the most we could get is 2, and I think we put a resolution that Barbara would need for us to move forward.
Madam Chair, motion to accept the recommendation from the Sheriff Department.
And I second, Madam Chairman.
Second from Commissioner Reed.
When will we know the results of this? Because we'll need to know at budget time, I know. Ooh.
But at
Okay.
least we will be able to.
We'll put it in.
know going into the budget.
That's right. I'm going to assume we're going to get it and put those numbers in September, and if we don't, we can always back them out.
If we catch it right.
Yeah, if we remind it.
I knew what he was doing.
So we're agreeing on this resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
Will you poll the commission?
I'll be glad to. District 1 Lee?
Yes.
District 2 Peters?
Yes.
District 3 Martin?
Yes.
District 4 Reed?
Yes.
District 5 Epps?
Yes.
District 6 Corbin?
Yes.
District 7 Street?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next is Commissioner Reed on the matter of Recreation and Sports Complex contract.
Madam Chairman, I talked to some of the commissioners, and I think they want the table to have some more ideas concerning this, to give them more time. So I guess the next meeting we'll be ready to do something.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm going to move that we make a motion to allow the attorney to review the contracts for both Ladonia and for Seal, as we discussed at the work session, and he can bring the results back and make a recommendation to this commission. Both of those contracts are unsigned right now, and it's in violation of our agreement with them. So my motion is to allow the attorney to review the contract, do what he needs to do, and come back and present to us to vote on.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a
Could I
second.
ask a question?
Sure.
You know, I don't really have any one person to consult with exactly. If there's one thing I do need some guidance on while we're now or later, because if I guess and put it in here, that's what it's gonna be. Mostly that contract with, Seal is, you know, covers everything we discussed earlier, except the power bill. I've heard discussion on, right now, the county pays the power bill. And I assume there's some discussion that the concession stand, that the league needs to pay a portion of the power bill dealing with the concession stand. Of course, it's not separately metered, as I understand. So you'd have to sort of take a guess. If that's what you want to do, if you want the league to pay the power bill at the concession stand, we'd need to come up with a formula, and I'd take a shot at it.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Which one?
Well, since
Three of us.
Gentry, let him go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, you know, that would probably be such a small percentage of the power bill, I think it would be more trouble than it's worth just to try to pull the concession stand out of what the lights would, because those lights is what runs up the power, but that's just my opinion.
What's the present cost?
Yeah,
The
that's
present, the county's paying the power bill.
I know that,
right
but
now.
what would be the present bill? What is per month?
During the summer and active games, it's $500 or $600.
How much?
$500 or $600.
And, you know, the concession stand out of that may be 30, you know, that's what I'm saying.
That's about 3 months, though, out of the year. Correct, or 4 months.
Well, just guessing without voting, we'll sort of leave it like it is until you change it. The other question is, now, Ladonia, do we have one league or 2 leagues? I think you got football and baseball, don't you?
Well,
Or do you?
there's one organization, but then it breaks down to 2 different leagues. Each league, the football and the softball, is separate as far as the charter, my understanding.
But it's 1 point of contest.
You're gonna have one league that's gonna be, okay, so we can use a standard contract then. All right, that's 2 things I needed to know before I tried to get a standard.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I have no problem with the contract. I think it'd be in line, the same contract for Seal be for Ladonia. I have no problem with that. But if you,
Well, it really shouldn't be any difference, to be honest with you. Certainly on, the standard, there should be the basic standards need to be the same if we can do that.
I think the and of course, this wasn't through the league, it was through actually our employee, but the main controversy we had in the previous was when the facility was being allowed to use by a third party, and we were paying the expenses, and that part, make sure that's covered in it, that if, you know, if somebody has a baseball camp or football camp, that those people, and they charge. Now, if they want to put on a camp free of charge for the citizens of Russell County, that's fine, we'll pay the expenses, but if they're charging for those camps, which they do, then they ought to be a way for them to pick up some expenses.
Well, that would be right, and I think we sort of got that, I'll make sure that's covered.
So what I'm saying is any of those agreements don't need to go through the leagues, they need to go through the county office.
Seemed like that was in the original contract,
It-
something
it
similar
is.
to that.
It is, but I said it ended up being a controversy there. So.
But if it's not clear enough, I just need some guidance on where I need to play with it. All right, so if y'all vote on that, I'll do it.
And we're voting on our attorney to draw up the contract.
And present it to you at the work session.
Okay.
District 1 Lee?
Did we have a second?
Yes,
Yeah.
We had a second.
Okay, yes. Did I second it?
I did.
No.
District 2 P? District
Yes.
2 P?
Yes.
District 3 Martin?
Yes.
District 4 Riggs?
Yes.
District 5 Alp?
Yes.
District 6 Corbett?
Yes.
District 7 Scrooge?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the ambulance building. Commissioner Screws.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. We've tossed this around a lot over the last couple of weeks. Let me go back and say I want to thank the committee for what they did. They came out with a very good plan for the ambulance building. The only problem that I had with it is that we couldn't afford what they were presenting. So because of that, I met with Richard and George and Ms. Horn and Scott to see what we could do as far as trimming the cost. And what I'm going to present is going to be in the form of a motion also, so that we would vote one way or the other. That we reduce the size of the ambulance building, of the main structure that they were talking about, to between 15 and 1,600 square feet, which Richard and George has assured myself and Ms. Horn that they can build it for the amount of money that we have left in the budget. We originally budgeted $150,000 for the building. We've spent $20,000 on architectural fees, and now we're only left, and I'm using round numbers, we only have left $129,000, and they have assured us that they can build this building for the $129,000. If I could, if you would put up the pictures first, okay?
Is there a second on this motion?
Madam Chairman, I think we need a second before I go ahead and second Screw the motion. He made a motion, I second.
Okay, with that said, what you see are just general ideas of pictures that the Lee County Ambulance Service used. This is not what we are proposing in the building, but this will give you an idea of how we can structure the building to bring about access and movement within the building and stay within cost too. And I think Ms. Horn visited this particular facility. Maybe she can add a little bit more to it before we actually get into what we want to do as far as interior and building. If you would, please.
Yes, sir. The representative that took me on a tour through the facility, and there's 3 of these locations, I understand it, in Lee County. This one's located in the Smith Station area, and they had leased, it's in a strip mall, which is totally different from what I believe this commission has in mind to build for our ambulance service in Russell County. And what you see there is basically just a long building that they have placed some petitions and different things within there and made it comfortable. They do run a 24-hour service, it's the same as our ambulance service would in Seal. And they do have, as you can see, quarters there for sleeping or resting or whatever they need to. What she did note is this location didn't have a shower, and that for the commission to please consider it if in constructing, which I know you are, to include a shower. She said because if they are contaminated or something, they would need a place to certainly change clothes. But this is probably about 900 square feet, is what I understand, and Mr. Sellers also visited as well. And it just gives you an idea that, you know, that's basically the square footage that they're using now. And she said they're operating good. The one thing that they do, they have to park the ambulance beside the building, and she did request, as there's been a lot of discussion for the ambulance to have a cover. She said because those ambulances have to be checked and restocked daily and different things, and she said it does help them to stay out of the weather when they're doing that, to restock the ambulances. And I believe that's in the proposal as well, to make sure it's covered.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
where do I start? One, the suggestion is to move the building size to 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. Commissioner, are you familiar with what the actual living size of the building that's proposed by Mr. Holmes is now?
It's pretty much the same.
It's less than that. And you've cut out the bedrooms, the sheriff's substation, but the living portion is actually less than 1,500 square feet, not 1,600, less than 1,500.
He shows, excuse me,
Yeah.
he shows on his plan that the whole building is 37 across the front, back. It shows on the side that it is 40, and if you do that, it comes about 1,540.
Yes, sir, but that is where the trucks are parked too.
No, no.
Well, the plans I've got, I looked at them yesterday, and that is not what it comes up to.
No, that's
So-
not where the trucks, if you
So
look
I've
at
got
the
a copy of the
design.
plans, but maybe I'm looking at the wrong plans, and maybe you've got
Looking at it.
more current ones than I do. But even if it is, it's the same, let's say it's the same, because it falls within exactly where you said 1,500 to 1,600, so we'll give you that one. If that's the case, then why are we cutting out bedrooms in the sheriff's substation? What are we gaining by doing that? I don't see that we're gaining anything other than cutting things out. You have brought a proposal here today, you have made a motion for square footage with no drawings, no blueprints, no estimate on costs. That is absolutely irresponsible as commissioners for us to vote for this today. We should turn this down today. How do we vote on anything like that? Furthermore, I've asked David to put, just before the meeting, to put some pictures in here as well. And I've went and done my homework on this. Go ahead, David. This is the proposed building that Scott Holmes proposed, the drawing of the outside of the building. It was brick structure with a metal structure attached to it. The door on the right there in the middle of the construction there is the sheriff's substation. The door on the left would lead, and the door on the left side would lead to the ambulance service building. This is just a different view of it. The reason, the idea with the doors being so high was so that we are not building a small structure that we can never grow on. This building would be able to be used as, if 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, the ambulance service just decided, hey, we're done, we're not coming, or we're building our own building or whatever, we now could turn this into a fire department if we wanted to. We could put the sheriff's command trailer in there. But when you build something, you should dream about the future, not, well, let's just build the smallest thing we can build and get by with the money we got. We shouldn't be doing that. I'd rather just not do it, Dave. This is the SEAL Volunteer Fire Department. This fire department was built, it's a metal building built out of Eufaula, Alabama, Lakeside, or I believe that's the name of it. They have $25,000 total in this building. Slab, structure, everything. There's absolutely an ability for us to go build a building, like you're talking about, Commissioner, but with the bedrooms in it and the sheriff's substation, and then come into next budget year, budget $25,000, $30,000, and go in there and put this next door to it for the ambulances to park in. But I've had people tell me, but we don't park the ambulance inside now, but that's not true. In fact, I talked to the SEAL Fire Chief last night, and he told me when it gets really cold, just for the same reason I told you the other night, because the equipment gets freezing cold and their drugs and their fluids, they're going to put in your arm, by the way, if you get into an emergency, gets out into that temperature that they actually pull a fire truck outside and bring the ambulance indoors into their facility. Not an overhang, but actually indoors to help maintain the temperature. So I'm the only person that has, on this commission, that has any experience ever working on an ambulance. I worked on it for many years. So I would, at least listen, at least, entertain the idea that we need to do more. They put themselves in a strip mall in Smith Station. Is it sprinkled? Do you know if it's sprinkled?
Probably not.
Okay? It's required in this county by building code to sprinkle it, okay? We are trying to take a good plan that people have put together, that a committee of people to put together and bring up to this commission a motion to just go, I just want to take this and throw it out, I want to throw this out, with no drawings, no budget, nothing, and trying to get this commission to approve it. And I just don't think that's exactly right. I just don't think that's the way we need to be. In fact, on Monday night, it was brought up that Fort Mitchell doesn't have bedrooms. But we have a 24-hour ambulance service in Seal. And it has been that way for 17 years. Now, it didn't just start this year. It's been that way for 17 years. And the reason we provide a building for the ambulance service in Seal is because we don't have to pay a subsidy to the ambulance services like we did years ago. In fact, in the 90s, early 90s and late 80s, we were paying 3 ambulance services in this county subsidies, each one of them, each month, to have an ambulance on call, and they rotated. We now have one ambulance service that if we paid a true subsidy, what they're actually worth and what they're giving us the benefit of in Seal, it would far shoot in 1 year more than what this building's worth. But we don't do that. They are kind enough to come in. Yeah, they're making money, and that's great, but our contract said we're going to provide them a building. I talked to the ambulance service. Dale's here today. He showed up today as well. And I asked him, if we pull the bedrooms out of your building, what is the solution? He said the solution is we'll pull out of Seal at 10 p.m. and not have a 24-hour ambulance. You, Commissioner, in District 7 are one of the biggest beneficiaries of having a 24-hour ambulance service. If you want to tell your constituents that we're not going to have it down there anymore after 10 p.m., then we'll vote for your motion and move on.
Okay, are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you look at the thing that was passed out, it pretty much covers everything that was in the original building. The building itself, we are saying 15 to 1,600 square feet. It would have air conditioning, it would have electrical service, plumbing, it would have concrete, it would have the engineer doing the pad as we originally stated. It would have the same look that's on the outside of the present building in which Scott drew. Only difference is it will have an awning where the truck will drive up under with the concrete pad, and the county will construct it. The difference is we will be able to do the same building for $129,000 if we do it in-house rather than contracting or subbing it out. The only difference is that I would prefer an open concept where if we had to come back and put walls or something in, we could do that with partitions or that type of thing. The inside interior has an office space, desk, radio, computer, filing cabinet, storage area, an area for lounge, for furniture, for personal furniture. It has a kitchenette, refrigerator, stove, sink, pantry, microwave. It has a restroom, which includes a shower. So, and it also have lockers for uniform and for personal items. We're not changing anything inside of the building. We're only decreasing the building so it will be affordable.
Madam Chair?
What, can
I disagree.
somebody
Where are
else
the
talk?
bedrooms at?
I'd like to ask
We got 7 commissioners here. Some of us would like.
Let me ask
We
a
all we have to
question as
do is
far as
ask the
bedroom.
permission to speak.
It
Fine,
has
but-
a day area where they can bring carts or whatever. And if we want to go back later on and petition off, we can do that. But the initial thing is we only budgeted $150,000. We have spent 20. We only have 129 left. Now, if you can come up with the other 275,000, hey, I'm all for it.
All right, Madam Chair.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Pugh, you want him or me?
My question is, if Mr. Martin would put the building back up, Mr. Holmes's concept,
No,
the total building, the building that shows the artist concept.
the artist concept. There you go.
Yeah, right here. Are you asking us to do away with the 2 bays and just build the building on the left? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because
Well, does it have the ability to add the bays at a later date?
I have no problem with that.
That's not what he's asking.
That's not what he's asking, though.
Well, that's my question.
If you want to add the bays at a later date, that's fine. My concern is, one, is that we've been at this for 2 years, and we have nothing to show for it. 2 is that the fire department would like for the ambulance service to have their own building. 3, if we put this off, we're looking at another year or so before we even begin to construct. So, you know, we just need to make this move and go ahead and do the building and offer the service to the ambulance service. They're getting the same building.
No, I'm next.
Excuse me, Ms. Epps is speaking.
But I was next.
I never built a building before. But I understand what Commissioner Struz is saying. I also was here during the time that we did the building down at the sheriff office, where we built a very nice building. It was done like in-kind, with in-kind service on it. And looking at this building here, and you said that we can do this building with in-kind service?
Richard and George have assured us that they can build a building for in-house for $129,000, what we have left.
Okay, but the building that they are building will not be the whole thing like this for the $129,000?
We're just looking at building the building.
I don't understand.
We're not doing the,
That's what I'm
I
trying
guess,
to
the
say.
Bay Area or this side on the left. Down the road, if you want to come back and add it on, I have no problem with that.
Okay,
Madam
as I
Chair?
look at,
Oh, I thought you were through, Ms. Epps.
I'm not through. As I look at this building, and may I ask the chair, that since our sheriff is here, and he have worked with, in-house, as you want to call it, I call it in-kind service, would he give us some input on how he handled the building there at the, jail?
We have blueprints for
Can
one.
we do that, Madam Chair? Give the chair permission, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Sure.
my concern is building an open, no walls in it is what I understand Mr. Scrooge saying, and it sounds like that I don't have a space in there anymore based on that concept, because I didn't see it anywhere on that list. You know, I think that I've showed that putting precincts out in the county reduces our crime rate. If you look at Hurtsboro and the success we've had in Hurtsboro with the substation there, if you look at Fort Mitchell with the substation there, I can physically show numbers that our crime rate is reduced. We have 2 schools, the middle school and the high school. We have 2 SROs that would be able to use this facility as an office space dealing with juveniles on a daily basis. We have a recreation facility right across the street that's bringing in, you know, tournaments and things on the weekend. So for us to not utilize this space as a substation for the sheriff's deputies is crazy. The more we can keep the deputies in the community and out in the county and not up here in the city where they've got 100 police already, we're better off with the crime rate. So, you know, I don't understand the concept of it'll take us a lot more money to cut out some walls on the inside of this structure. Building some walls is a minimal cost. If you're putting plumbing in, you're putting electrical, you're putting the brick and the metal roof, building a petitional wall on the inside is nothing. So I'm a little confused on that, but I'm also confused on the fact that it's already June. Our budget comes into play in October. The budget gets cut off in September. So you're talking about at the most 2 months left, 3 months left of this budget. If we've got $130,000 to build it, if we start that today, it won't be finished by the time the new budget comes in. Why wouldn't we just do that, and as the new budget comes in, we're gonna have money to build this, not in her budget. Well, I disagree, because for the last 10 years that I've been doing the budget, we've turned in $300,000 a year. For the last 10 years. So if you're talking about we don't have money at the end of this budget year, we will. So you got 130 now, and we're gonna turn in money at the end. We always have. Not just me, but every other department head. It may not be as much, some's less, some's more, but everybody turns in money just about because they're good stewards of the budget. So, you know, and of course, you know, the last thing I'll say is this. If you cut me out, you're gonna have a hard time building it with trustees, because they're mine.
Madam Chair?
Yes. Wouldn't do
Okay.
that to her, would you, Chair?
Why not?
All right,
That's a promise.
Madam Chair, and I don't blame you, Sheriff. First of all, unlike Ms. Epps, I've built many buildings, commercial and residential, some school buildings. Know a little bit about it, and my only problem with what Commissioner Screws is saying is you can't build that for $125,000. You still building an 18,000 square foot building, and like the sheriff covered part of my spiel is, it doesn't cost anything to put 5 rooms in a 18,000 square foot building than it does 2 rooms. I mean, you talking about 2 by 4 walls and, you know, sheetrock and a little paint. So if we can, I don't see why we can't use the plan that was drawn
Absolutely.
and approve that to build in kind with our help, with inmate labor, try to get it in for 130. If it goes 50,000 over, we'll put it in the next budget. But why would we want to modify the inside of the building when we don't gain anything?
Why would you modify it with no plans? This is a list.
I mean, your square footage,
Build off
you
of
still got to air condition 1,800 square feet. You still got to put a restrooms. You still got to have showers, and that's what cost. I mean, and the sprinkler system, that's what cost. Our guys can't do the sprinkler. I mean, you know, we've got to contract that out, and we don't know how much that's going to cost. Nobody's done it. Will it cost $5,000 or will it cost $50,000? Well, I don't know.
Madam Chair?
But anyway, that's why I'm voting against the present motion. Not that I don't want to do it. If we're going to do it, if we can build an 1,800 square foot building for $130,000, then I don't know why we can't add 2 more rooms and a door.
They're already in it. They're already in the plans for less square footage. But my question, Madam Chair, is, you know, somebody, I think it was Ms. Epps, mentioned to the sheriff, you know, tell us how they were able to come in. They weren't really. If you remember, we actually stalemated that project until we sold the old tag office,
Right.
and the first $100,000 off of that went to finishing, getting that building going and getting it constructed. So it wasn't that he came in way, and it did come in under budget with in-kind work and inmate work and all of that. But at the end of the day, the big key thing is he had a set of blueprints to work off of. We paid for those blueprints. This is not blueprints. Saying that we're going to approve a 1,600 with a small office and a store, that's, I can't go with this. This is unreal that we're talking about. We have a set of blueprints we paid for from Homes. We have that. Okay, if we need to start on the building portion, take the part where the ambulances park, and we can try to approve that in a later budget, that's fine. But we already have a set of blueprints. It's the same and less, in certain cases, square footage than what we already have. I don't understand why we're trying to take a list of stuff and saying, oh, George can build it. What if something happens to George? What if he quits on us? What if something, are we being responsible there? I mean, we've got to have a set of plans. We need to approve a set of plans, approve the construction. I'd just like to see an estimate of what it's going to cost, not that George says it can be built for $129,000. That's not responsible, y'all.
Well, no, I think what the question.
May I say something, please?
Well, let me just, the question though.
Let me say that we know that the current building costs us $400 and something.
Right.
No, we don't.
Based on what was told us Monday night.
That was with contractor
That's a
building.
contractor building.
And we also know that if we sub it out, we had $284,000 to build it, even if we just sub it out.
Right,
So
correct.
that is above what we have. Whatever you want to do, I'm fine with, as long as we get a building built.
Well,
Now, wait a minute now, let me finish. If we're gonna do the building structure itself, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But we've been on this for 2 years. To put it off again, we're gonna be another year to 2 years getting it done. So, where are we?
Madam
All
Chairman.
right, my question though, Commissioner, is, Screws, is explain to me how we can build the 1,600 square foot building that you're proposing for $130,000, and we can't build the 1,400 square foot building that we have plans for $130,000, when it's the same building. It's just different room arrangement.
Madam Chair.
That's all I wanted to know.
Commissioner
I
Pugh.
respectfully call for the question.
Before you do that, Madam Chair, if you'll look at the screen, I did a little bit more homework on this. The metal buildings that are on the screen here are kits that can be built, and I did check, there are current fire departments and ambulance services already in them. The entire building in front of you, less the roll-up doors and the brick facade, is less than $50,000.
Right.
Okay? This building here is in the same class of that with 4 doors. We can't simply say that based on what Scott Holmes wrote up, which I think Scott is a professional, and he does professional stuff, and I think it's great. But we can't just say that we're painted into a corner, and that's what we have to do. There are other options out there. I just don't want to see us running our ambulance service out at 10 p.m. at night, not giving them what we promised them for the last 17 years, knocking the sheriff's substation out of there that we absolutely have all agreed there's a use for, by a motion that is so vague that I'm honestly, I can't even, I'm going to yell, they're going to hear me in Seal yelling no here when we vote on it. So I'd ask you to vote no on it.
Madam Chairman, I done had enough of this. I want to ask Commissioner, listen, I got one thing I want to say. If Commissioner Screw go back and amend his motion and add the sheriff's sub in there, just see what you can do, work out. Because if we have to cut the budget on some other project, I'm all for that too. I feel like this is really important. We need this right here.
There's enough room in the building for the sheriff to get something, but I just didn't want to wall anything in. There's enough room.
That don't make sense to me. If I have to interview somebody, I'm gonna interview them in front of the ambulance personnel. I mean, I need an office that's walled in, even if it's 8 by 8. I mean, I don't care about how big it is, but I can't interview somebody about a crime in front of the ambulance personnel that'd be sitting in an open area space.
But we don't save any money.
Problem
And it
the
don't
volunteer
save
fire
money.
department is having now.
I mean,
Building the square footage open area, putting up a wall, saves
you can
money.
put the bedroom area and the sheriff's investigation area in there for $4,000. I mean, you're talking about sheet rock and super board.
Commissioner Pugh has asked.
I'm gonna withdraw my earlier request. I've got more questions now. And my question is this: if this is defeated this morning, is someone gonna offer a plan today to get started, or at least at the next session, to get this thing moving? Because I hear what Commissioner Screw says.
Yeah.
We've been chewing it for 2 years and we're not moving. We need to do something. But I understand that if the money's not in the budget, but there's possibility at the end of the budget, I'm ready to move today to start building the original building. And then as budget time comes around, work with the sheriff on return money to get it handled.
If we have made plans or we've made commitments to folks that we.
Madam Chairman, if Commissioner Screw go back and amend that motion, make sure the sheriff have an office in there with doors and stuff like that, you know.
How
so
about
he-
sleeping facility?
And sleeping, and then I go back in
that's
a second and go ahead and amend the motion. We need to go
may-
ahead and move on this thing, because we're spending too much time.
You know, I don't even know what the motion is.
May I say something? I understand, and I try to take notes and listen to everyone, what they are saying. My concern is that if we start on this building, the plan that we have, let's start with the 100 and whatever thousand that we have. We work with that, and as the budget time comes, then whatever we can add to it again, then we add within the budget and keep building. But now for us to sit here and discuss all of this, we are not making any progress. I heard the sheriff say that about the 2 schools. And you know, I'm very, safety is one of the things that, if he have 2 officers at each school or 1 officer at each officer at each school, then they can also use that facility to take care of the business of the children. And you know how our children are. Then when they are not in front of us, they do whatever. So I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about the possibility you was talking about, the ambulance, that when they get real cold and you have to use all of the whatever to take care of the business there. We have to consider all of this. I understand Commissioner Strube, he's tired of talking about the same thing for the last 2 years. So my suggestion is, let's start on what we have. Mr. Horn is here to make money. That's what, that is his business. Of course, his contractor, if, you know, it's going to cost more if we can do it in-house. So let's deal with what we have. If we have people in-house that can do that same building at a cheaper price, what's wrong with it? So my suggestion is that we go with what we have and use our own in-kind service to get it billed as much as we can. That would be my suggestion. And that way, we already have the plan, we have everything in place, and we'll work from there.
Madam Chairman, call for the question. I'm tired of this.
Motion to table.
Second.
I'll go along with that motion.
Got to vote on it. Call for the vote.
Well, we already
We're
got,
getting too many suggestions
Call for the
here.
question.
Got to call the question on table. You got a table and a motion. No
Madam
discussion.
Chairman, we
No
got
discussion.
we got a motion and a second with Scrooge. Now, we
No,
got to
he
vote that up
tabled it.
down.
He
No
motioned to
discussion.
table.
Unless he
No,
made a motion.
you don't,
Wait a
Ryan.
minute, wait a minute.
No, the table outweighs.
Table takes precedence.
President, takes no second. We have to vote on it first.
We're gonna vote on the tabling,
Right.
or not?
Yes.
Let's vote on the table.
District 1 Lee?
Yes.
District 2 Pugh?
Yes.
District 3 Martin?
Yes.
District 4 Reed?
I just have had enough of this. I'm gonna go ahead and vote no. We should do something. We spend too much time.
District 5 Epps?
Yes.
District 6 Corbett?
Yes.
District 7 Scrooge?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We need to move right along, and
Yes, Madam Chair. Under my items is the back-to-school sales tax holiday resolution and request. It will take place August 7th through 9th, 2015, and I need to have this paperwork back to the state if the commission approves.
Motion to approve.
thank you. So second to this motion,
Second, Madam Chairman.
and Commissioner seconds. Will you hold the commission?
District 1 Lee?
Yes.
District 2 Pugh?
Yes.
District 3 Martin?
Yes.
District 4 Reed?
Yes.
District 5 Epps?
Yes.
District 6 Corbett?
Yes.
District 7 Scrooge?
Yes.
Unanimous vote. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to request approval for the commission for the drainage correction that's needed around the football field at the Ladonia area. I provided to you Monday evening a rough estimate of $38,100 to complete this, and it is in the budget.
Motion to approve.
Second.
To the motion and second.
We were gonna get a report on if we would save any money under the county bid on the gravel, and we wouldn't. Okay, good.
District 1 Lee?
Yes.
District 2 Pugh?
Yes.
District 3 Martin?
Yes.
District 4 Reed?
Yes.
District 5 Epps?
Yes.
District 6 Corbett?
Yes.
District 7 Scrooge?
Mr. Thunderbird, do you have anything?
Thank you.
No, ma'am.
In your personnel items, Ms. Robinson has put it in your packet. We have the announcements on the back. The governor's 2015 preparedness conference is June 25 through 26 in Mobile, Alabama. Fort Mitchell Volunteer Fire Department barbecue is Saturday, this Saturday, June 13th. They didn't give me a time here. Recognize Miss Kelly. Roberts.
Madam Chair,
Excuse me. Okay.
okay.
I think she has some news.
Well, I have some new, I'll go ahead and start because I told her I was going to do it. That's why I was trying to get the chair. This is going to be Kelly's last meeting with the chamber. She's taking another position. I had to threaten her to actually come today because she didn't want to come. And you had picked a heck of a meeting to come to, so, I mean, one of the long ones, so. But we appreciate what you've done for the county and pushed us forward. She's at everything, every time we turn around. She was at Exchange Club Horse Show Saturday night still, and we just appreciate what you've done for us in the county and moving things forward in the city as well.
And we applaud you.
Good luck.
We're gonna miss you. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I make one more,
Yes.
announcement real quick? We had and the sheriff stepped out, but we had an employee who lost a child last week. The child, the teenager that drowned in the river, was a sheriff's office, a jail employee's son. I think most of the commissioners know. I think I contacted each of you after the sheriff mentioned it, but just keep them in your thoughts. The funeral is actually today at 11 o'clock, so.
And while you're on that note, those of us my age and maybe a little younger, a little older, grew up in this area, and is instilled in us that river is a killer. Just because they have whitewater with safety measures in line, doesn't mean that it's still not as dangerous as it always has been. So please, stay out of the river unless you've got life-saving equipment on and under the guise of professionals, because it is a killer, especially right here where these rapids are. Get on down a little further and it's safe as anything else, but right in here it's always been bad, even forever.
And just so that you know, I reported the commission on Monday night. Saturday, we were able to open the doors of the lodge in Crawford, the old Masonic Lodge that we restored, and let the family come and meet with family and friends. They didn't have a place to do it, and over 100 people showed up, and the support of the community was unbelievable. So it was a good use of that building already. Okay.
And let's remember the Brown family in prayer as they go through this bereavement. Is there a motion to adjourn, please? Okay, adjourn.
I ain't got no meeting. You need to do a George G. stand.
You can buy those plans.
You gotta go.